You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to the line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
Hey, KLRN Radio family, this is Jenny Earhart, the Southern Sisters Radio Show, every Sunday at 2 p.m. right here on KLRN. Connect with me on Facebook at Southern Sisters Home with Jenny Earhart. You can also catch our Facebook Live videos, unedited and uncensored. I'm in Wenz World, and I love it.
Thank you, Jenny. Wenz World loves you, too. Folks, head to southernsistershome.com. Get to know Jenny more and find fantastic recipes. So easy to make, even I can do it.
Time for the soon-to-be famous Supper and Suds segment, the perfect pairing of food and beer right here in Wenz World.
Man, oh man, it's always awesome to have our Southern sister, Jenny Earhart, right here in Wenz World.
You just like me because I'm talking about the food, Joey.
That's right. We're taking a trip 95 north up to New York for a New York strip steak this weekend.
You know, one of the nice things is that you can enjoy that New York strip right here in the good old South, where we are from, using your grandmother's cast iron skillet. Now, I'm a big fan of the cast iron skillet. We know it has a huge, long, and honored tradition here in the South.
Sure.
But you'd be amazed how many things you can make in it, and it is my preferred way to make a good steak.
Well, not to mention on these hot Georgia afternoon and evenings, you can avoid the sunburn and the mosquito bites.
This is right. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going to give you a little rundown here on my favorite way to do a New York strip in a cast iron skillet. And folks, if you don't have a cast iron skillet, do you know that you can pick up a perfectly good cast iron skillet pre-seasoned even at a place like Walmart? They are not expensive things, and they are just a kitchen workhorse. You'll use it over and over and over again.
Now, quick question, though, before you get started. Do you have a preferred brand and one possibly you like to avoid?
I got to tell you, I kind of love the Lodge. Just because I know their story. They have a long and illustrious history here in the South. In fact, on the Southern Sisters Radio Show, we did an entire segment one time about the Lodge family and how they developed their cast iron. And you can get those anywhere, at any major retailer, and they're not expensive.
Cool.
And I have a couple of different sizes because, you know, for bigger things, I'll use a deeper maybe. But for a good old maybe 10, 12-inch Lodge or any brand, cast iron skillet is you will not be sorry that you invested in that.
Awesome.
Yeah. So what I would do with let's say I'm going to cook dinner for you, Joey, and we got two good New York strip steaks. You want to remove those steaks from the refrigerator and season both sides of those with coarse sea salt or kosher salt and some ground black pepper, okay? You can kind of eyeball it on the quantity, whatever you like.
Right.
If you have a favorite spice that you like, a favorite steak rub, okay? This is really, use whatever you like. This is more about the technique than what you're actually putting on the steak. Because everybody has a different preference, right? But I do want you to do this. I want you to take those steaks out of the out of the refrigerator, for 45 minutes to an hour before it ever goes into the heat.
See, that sounds so counterintuitive to me because I think meat always needs to be refrigerated up to the point where you actually start cooking it.
No, you'll be sorry if you do that. Nothing's going to go wrong with that steak if it starts to come to room temperature. It's not going to be warm enough to where it's going to cause any kind of health problems or anything of that nature, and you're going to have more even cooking consistency. You're going to get the effect that you want.
Nice.
Now, what you need to do is add about a tablespoon of cooking oil to your cast iron skillet.
Now, does it matter if it's olive oil or vegetable?
Well, olive oil does not have as high of a smoke point, so you might want to go with a corn oil. You can use the olive oil if you want.
Okay.
It's just your preference. And then you're going to heat that burner up to about medium-high heat and warm the oil until the surface just begins to shimmer. That's how you know it's ready to sear. You don't want it smoking. That's a little too hot, okay? And listen, I will admit this technique causes a little bit of smoke in the kitchen. You may want to take the batteries out of the smoke detector. Don't forget to put them back. But there is a little splattering that goes on with this technique, but it is so worth it. Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to drop those steaks into your hot pan. You will hear the sizzle. Make sure not to crowd the pan. Okay. If you're cooking 2 or 3 steaks or maybe 4 steaks, you may need to use 2 pans or cook them separately.
Now, how much space is ideal between steaks?
You just need, I would say, at least an inch. You need air around it. Same time you're browning anything in a pan, you do not want to crowd it because then not enough air gets around them and they will start to steam. We don't want steamed steaks.
No.
Right? We want pan-seared steaks.
Right.
And so they need oxygen. So don't crowd anytime you're cooking a meat, don't crowd it in the pan if you're looking to achieve that nice crust on the outside. Got it? And what you're going to do then is cook those steaks for 2 to 3 minutes. Flip them over and cook them for about another 2 minutes, right? Now, if you really want to get fancy, you can take your tongs and turn those steaks on their sides and kind of hold them in place and sear the sides of the steak a little bit. You know.
I never thought about that.
Yeah. Oh, I do it all the time. It's kind of fun. You get that nice then seared around the outside.
Yeah.
Now, using an oven mitt, you're going to transfer the pan into the oven. So this is a 2-step process. We sear our steaks on the stove and we finish them in the oven. At that point, they're probably only going to need maybe another 4 to 5 minutes. That will create a medium pink center. If you want it a little bit more rare, try 2 to 4 minutes. Got it?
Quick question.
Yeah.
At what temperature?
Oh, we're going to preheat the oven to 450. It
450.
is hot, baby. Yeah,
Okay.
you want it hot because we are fast cooking. That's going to seal in those juices. Then what you're going to do is remove the pan from the oven using the tongs, place the steak on a cutting board, cover it loosely with aluminum foil, and let it sit. We want to give our little steaks a break.
Oh, see, this is the challenge for yours truly, because once I smell that fresh cooked steak, I just want to dive right in.
I know. We're all like that. And we've all made the mistake of cutting into a steak that's too hot, and we watch the juices run out all over the cutting board. You don't want that. So use every bit of restraint you have not to touch that steak for about 7 to 10 minutes. And then when you're ready to serve it, just kind of place it on a platter, cut it against the grain. If you really want to be fancy, oh my word, like a tablespoon of butter on top.
Oh, yeah.
Just let it melt over the sides. Or if you have some fresh herbs growing in the garden, a little butter and herbs. You know, it's a happy thing.
My mouth is wide open. My jaw is dropped because we have the one and only, our Southern sister, Jenny Earhart, right here in Wenz World. But you know, folks, Jenny Earhart has the most amazing show. It actually kicks off the Man Cave afternoon right here on The Answer every Saturday at high noon. And boy, oh boy, does she have recipes galore. And not only that, but you can connect and get to know Jenny on her website.
That's right. You just head on over to southernsistershome.com. All the recipes we talk about on the show every week are right there. And we also love to hear from our listeners. So if you want to email us, radio@southernsistershome.com. You know, give us some recipe ideas.
And here's a little exclusive. You can go to her Facebook page and check out her recording, Facebook Live, unfiltered and uncensored, exclusively for you. And it is well worth your time, folks.
Yeah.
So much fun.
We have fun off the air as well as on the air, shall we say. So it's a great way to kind of see what goes on behind the scenes.
And folks, stay tuned because we have the perfect beer pairing right after this. Beer guy Aaron in Wenz World. Welcome back, man.
Hey, it's great to be here. Absolutely.
So what did we miss this week on Beer Guys?
Well, we talked, actually, it's called a breweryana, which is a hard enough word to say, which is actually beer collectibles. So beer cans, bottles, bottle caps, cards, advertising, those types of things. So we had a couple of really good collectors on this week. It was awesome.
What about DUI citations and such?
That's all you, man.
That's all me.
That's all you, exactly.
That's my past.
There you go. That's it.
But our Southern sister Jenny had some pan-seared New York strip steak earlier, and it's juicy and delicious, and I know that you are the guy to go to for all beer pairings.
Absolutely. So there's a couple of different beers that you want to go to while you're eating the steak. Now, while you're cooking the steak, Now, he's pan-seared. It's indoors, but if you're grilling a steak outdoors, I go with a really nice IPA, by the way.
Okay.
So it's a good outdoorsy beer. Tropical IPAs are in now. There's no fruit adjuncts to them, but the way the hops are created, it makes it taste kind of tropically right now. And my jam right now when I'm grilling outdoors is one by Jailhouse, a brewery down in Hampton. They've got a 5.0 tropical IPA. It's this bright orange can. You can't miss it. It's phenomenal. So if you like IPAs, and even if you don't like IPAs, try that out. It's a lot more drinkable than usual. But we're here to talk about eating.
Yeah.
So couple of ones. I want this is the easy one. This is the one that you'll go to if, again, you're not that adventurous, but it's still a fantastic beer. An amber ale. Very classic, very easy drinking beer, and it goes great with the steak. Local option here is Gate City Brewing out of Roswell. They make one called Copperhead. It's a fantastic amber ale, a really nice, easy drinking beer. I usually keep a sixer of that in my fridge just in case company shows up or just need something pretty easy. Again, it's just an easy drinker, and it's going to go well with that steak. If you're a little more adventurous, though, a couple from Reformation I want to talk about. Belgians. Belgians have a little bit more of a yeast character, more of a floral aroma to it, but they're still fairly mild enough that it's going to pair well with something that's a little bit smoky, a little bit tasty too, so like a steak. So a couple to talk about. First of all, from Reformation, it's called Jude. It's a triple, which is a golden ale, a Belgian golden ale. A little bit on the strong side, but the problem with triples is that they're very easily drinkable. Yeah. So you can have 2 or 3 and not even think about it, but realize that it's going to be higher in ABV, and you're going to have some problems if you drink more than one. So just FYI on that one. A little bit more easy pairing, by the way, it's Cadence, which is their double. It's a Belgian double ale, which is more darker, but it's got some really nice uses Belgian candy sugar, really kind of a dark enough, a little bit more of a smoky note to it, but it also has a nice floral notes too. So any of those Belgians, I think, would pair very well with steak.
And of course, Beer Guys Radio every Saturday right here on The Answer at 1 o'clock. Just immediately following Southern Sisters.
That's right.
Kicking off Man Cave Radio
there you
at
go.
noon. Connect with Beer Guy Aaron on the Twitter sphere.
That's right. Beer Guy Aaron at Beer Guy Aaron, or you can check us out at Beer Guys Radio on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, also at Beer Guys Radio as well. So
and on Friendster, right?
No, not Friendster, but we do MySpace, which is good.
Am I still in the top 8?
No.
Oh, I didn't make the cut. Well, maybe next week with the next pairing, I'll make it back in their good graces. Thanks again, Aaron.
Cheers.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
My friends, welcome back to Wenz World. As you know, we've been in conversation with former Mossad spy Shalva Hessel. Check out her book, Married to the Mossad. It's available on her website, shalvahessel.com, also on Amazon. So here it is, the third and final installment of our chat with Shalva Hessel. I'm very thankful that you brought up Assad and the whole Syrian conflict, because here in the West, I'm sure you're aware that the refugee crisis has basically taken the forefront. When you were earlier talking about the things that are happening in Europe, we're just a stone's throw away. We're just a flight away from these people.
Exactly. I'm worried. I'm very concerned. Concerned for America, I'm concerned for Europe.
Right.
Because, you know what, it's really very sad. And I hope that the Americans and the Europeans will have to put a line. Who is the good guys and who is the bad guys? And it's so easy to see it. It's nothing to do about territories. Before they used, against Israel, it's nothing territory. Every time we gave a peace because we were pushed to give it. That's why many people didn't like Obama, because he pushed us to, and thank God we didn't do it. Because it's not about land. When you want to do peace with somebody, you will find a way to do it. Nothing will be an obstacle if you really want it. And I think Israel is a symbol for a democracy, for the free world, for the values. And we were fighting the fight for Europe and for America. But I hope that now all the world understand that. And listen, I hear when I heard Muslims say, listen, it's very hard for me, but I'll have to kill my daughter if he goes with this guy.
Right.
Can you hear it? Can you believe it?
No.
It's not simple people who are hungry, people who have money. How can you say something like that?
Right. And so those kind of actions and words going opposite of that strictly contradict what's written in the Quran. And I think that's why a lot of us have a problem with the idea of the lack of assimilation when they come to America. And look, as a Christian, taking the words of Jesus literally, we're taught to love our neighbor. I mean, even the story, something so simple
Exactly. This is the same in Judaism. This is number one. You have to love and respect your parents and love the neighbors.
Right.
This is, if you keep these two, everything will be happy.
But how do we do that in a world where we're not sure who these people are that are pouring out of Syria and into the countries that surround it? How do you flesh that out as a believer yourself? What would that look like, let's say, in your life?
I feel sorry for the people, for anybody who suffers and doesn't want to kill anybody. But where were they before? Why don't we stop the leaders?
Right.
This is not the solution, because they will come to Europe, and until they will learn your values, will take another 50, 100 years. Why don't America, the free world, do what we said to do for, Israel said to do it for 50 years? It's nothing to do with it. The simple people want just to have food on the table for the children. I feel sorry for them. I know a lot of Arabs who worked with my father and us. They're good people. They just want to eat and give education to the children. But they are forced to do things they don't want to do because of the leaders. Everything has to start, like you remember, I don't know if you remember, when we talked about peace between the Palestinian and Israel.
Right.
What we said, just take from the education book the word killing Israelis, guns to kill Israeli children. Teach your kids peace. You'll never see in any school in Israel anybody talk about haters to anybody. Never, any school, extreme religious or non-religious. And if you go to Gaza and to all this, you'll see what they say about us. What photo children from the age of 2 years old, women who are pregnant and, you help them to go to hospital and they explode themselves. But I want to tell you, but it's safe in Israel because we do it only on the border. We are very, very strict. And thank God we are.
And literally, it is a God thing because you're such a small country surrounded by countries that want to wipe you off the face of the map. And that's the reality. There's a lot of opposition to Israel because I think deep down, it's really about faith, God, the Bible, the Torah, and how they kind of intersect with the Quran and Islam in general.
We are the only democracy surrounded by Islamic country. And we are very small in territory. It's a miracle we exist. If you read the Old Testament, you'll see we were there for over 3,000 years. United Nations declare us to be there. We are there to stay. But they do not want freedom. They don't want democracy. And they're jealous. They see that we manage okay. We are advanced. Egypt were there for thousands of years. And look what happened. They didn't advance a centimeter. People are poor. They don't have work. Why? Why? They build the pyramids. Could be that they're not smart. Somebody stopped them. I hope people will read the book because I talk about all the strength I have. My book is not fiction. It's all true story.
Right.
And I talk about all my thought and how I did an operation myself. So if I took some group of people, investigators, and really soldiers, I recruited myself, and we managed to really do something good. I'm sure that big nations, the good guys, they can win and they will win.
Do you foresee a future, a realistic future, where Jews, Christians, and Muslims can truly coexist as people living around each other around the globe?
Absolutely, yes.
How do you think we get to that point?
We have to have good, honest leaders and people because many people don't want to go into politics because, it's not easy. They have television. Yeah, they can criticize you in a minute. Like everybody tell me, listen, I wrote the book. My husband objected me to publish the book. The Mossad objected me to publish the book. And the people in Europe are threatened to sue me because of the book. And I came to a state and I told him, that's it. I believe that, we have in the Jewish faith something that's called repair the world. I believe that telling my story will give, even if not to few people, will give them the courage to go from their own box and do something that is above themselves. I won. And that's what I feel. Because I'm an ordinary person, I came to do unbelievable things.
Now, you mentioned the ability for everyone to coexist. How do you think we can get there, even with the views about women that Islam holds to, even to this day?
Look, I have a lot of Christian friends. Actually, the head of the DF United States, wonderful lady, tough lady. She's one of the toughest person I ever met. And I really admire her. And so I think there are women who can do it in the United States, okay? There are. Now, to go back to your questions, I think the only thing, people should say the truth because everybody is politically correct. Right. When even you see somebody lying to you or faking and tell you how nice and how don't tell you, you have to put a mirror in front of his face. And if a leader comes and tell you how wonderful he is and he didn't do A, B, C, tell him, hello, why did you do that? Look what you happened to this country. The free world will not accept you. You have to do it in Iran. Look, the pressure on Iran was wonderful. With a nuclear. And then, unfortunately, you know what happened?
What do we do about this Iran problem? Because it seems like we did a deal with the devil.
Exactly. Change it. It will come to you, back to you. It will backfire on you because they look at it as if that you are weak.
Right.
And when they see something weak, there is no respect. Look, I know I'm a strong woman. I know I'm not afraid. If I do the right thing and not for my own interest, I have no fear. I know that God will be with me. And that's the education I got. If I wouldn't get the education that I got, that if you do the right thing and you have faith in God, you will get to where you need to get. And, and this was my basic. And I think that's what we should, I hope that they will let Trump work, and he will do it. But now I see they don't let him work because nobody like him to do what he's doing.
Right.
He want to do a change, and it's pity.
And
it's all my view. I just want to make sure that whoever hear me, this is my own personal views. Right. It's not anybody else.
And again, if you're just joining us, we're having a fantastic conversation with author and former spy Shalva Hessel. She worked alongside her husband with the Mossad, and that's the Israeli National Intelligence Agency. Over here in the West, we are bombarded by every single news outlet. Every news outlet has an agenda, and they want to shape public opinion. Over there, how do you view America's media? What do you guys think about the day-to-day stories that, say, Fox News, CNN, and even the major networks like ABC, CBS, and NBC, how they do their work day-to-day? How do you view that?
I tell you, either we view them either they anti-Israeli or pro-Israeli. And unfortunately, we saw, and I'm probably saying something, I don't that I will maybe pay for it somehow, but never mind. Like CNN, and many times we hear stories that were not accurate. Or, I tell you more than that, when something really happened good and big that we did, it's not news for them. Only if it was everything that it is show us in a bad light, you always see it. That's the way we feel and we see it that way in many ways. And Fox, for instance, we saw it more objective. And we thought that, it's always we're looking who's sitting on the board, who's sponsoring them, who give the ads. If they are, Arabs, maybe they are more pro-Arab. I don't know. And I tell you, this is my view and some other people's view. Sometimes I know the reality and I look at it and I say, God, this is not true. It's not fair. And we saw it a lot in England. Before what they have now, all the terror, how they really distorted what's happening in Israel. And, unfortunately, you see Israel as well as a place that is tension all the time. It's not true. I really want you to come. Instead of Italy, next time you come to Israel.
I'm very thankful for your personal invitation. That's a true sign of grace and respect. And honestly, I've never experienced that from somebody I've never met. I mean, we're perfect strangers. I literally just got to know you in the last 30-something minutes, and I'm honored to know you.
No, I tell you, I feel that I know you. I tell you why. I had few interviews, but I feel that you really care for your country and for the peace in the world. So I feel as, we have we share the same values. I really meant it anyway.
Well, I appreciate it. And again, we are with author and former spy, Shalva Hassel. Check out her website, ShalvaHessel.com. Currently residing in Tel Aviv, but former spy working alongside her husband with secret missions for the Mossad. Can people connect with you on social media? I mean, obviously, beside your website?
They want to connect me. They can go to my website, Married to the Mossad, or ShalvaHessel.com, and they can contact me. And yes, I'm on social media. And I hope I didn't hurt anybody in this interview because I did not mean to. I really want to do good for everybody.
I think you're coming from a very sincere, honest place based off your life experience and the stuff that you see day to day, even during the present day. So, Shalva Hassel, a pleasure to have you in Wenz World. I'm very thankful to make this connection. And I'd love to have you back in the future if that's okay.
Thank you. That is fine. I enjoy having this interview, and a good day to you.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Hey, KLRN Radio family. This is Jenny Earhart, the Southern Sisters Radio Show, every Sunday at 2 p.m. right here on KLRN. Connect with me on Facebook at Southern Sisters Home with Jenny Earhart. You can also catch our Facebook Live videos, unedited and uncensored. I'm in Wenz World, and I love it.
Thank you, Jenny. Wenz World loves you, too. Folks, head to SouthernSistersHome.com. Get to know Jenny more and find fantastic recipes. So easy to make, even I can do it.
This is Wenz World. It's weird science time.
Why, yes, indeed, it is time for Weird Science. And we have an old friend back here in Wenz World from our good friends out there in Cali, Reasons to Believe's own Dr. Ann Jeanette Roberts, also known as Dr. AJ here. What's going on, AJ? How you been?
Hi, Joey. I've been doing great. Good to be back.
Yeah, and today we're talking about something that nobody really likes, and that is viruses. And in fact, there are more viruses than stars. Help me fill in the deets here. How abundant are these viruses compared to stars?
Well, there's about 10 million more viruses estimated on planet Earth than there are stars estimated in the universe.
Wow.
10 million times more.
We seem to be seeing a lot of viruses kind of reshape themselves just to maintain survival mode. And, of course, a ton of those affect human beings. But where do these viruses come from? Because when I think about it, it doesn't make a lot of sense for these things to have been created by a loving father. Do you think there's a possibility that these were somewhat man-made, especially the ones that kill us as people?
Oh, no, I don't think the viruses are man-made at all. But it's a great question, where do viruses come from? And the answer is nobody really knows. But viruses absolutely require a living cell in order for more viruses to be made. And so a lot of scientists think of viruses as sort of cellular cast-offs. Somehow genes from once functioning cells have conglomerated together into some type of functional unit that we now see as a virus. And maybe that happened through naturalistic processes, but we don't really have a good handle on where viruses come from. I don't think it's too far-fetched to think that maybe God, in his providence, actually did create viruses, because viruses are everywhere. And if you think that there's more than 10 million times the number of stars in the sky, that number of viruses on planet Earth, the vast majority of them aren't doing anything harmful to mammals or humans. Most of them are infecting microbes, like bacteria. And so the fact that they need living cells in order to replicate, and the fact that without viruses, planet Earth would probably be one giant bacterial ball without much else living on it, maybe God in his providence did create viruses.
See, so that seems to answer that question of, well, why would a loving God or God the Father create viruses that make us sick, make us miserable from day to day, especially during the winter season. But you just answered the question. Apparently, they're killing things that would end up killing us, as it were.
Well, certainly the vast majority of them are.
Right.
Now, I don't necessarily think that all viruses, especially those that infect human beings, they may not have been part of the created order. They may be something that has a different role in nature and over time have changed. And with our interaction with nature as human beings, perhaps our mismanagement of creation and the environment has exposed us to viruses that might have other positive roles in nature that actually end up infecting us through the process of molecular changes, and that they cause disease in us. So maybe some of the viruses, and there's no way to know this for sure until we do more research, right?
Right.
Whether or not all viruses have positive functions, but the ones that infect humans, maybe they have another positive function in nature, and maybe not. Maybe they're just sort of accidental byproducts of changes that occur in nature of viruses that have different functions in different animals or organisms, but in humans they actually cause disease.
Now, initially, you kind of dismissed the notion of lab-created viruses. Why were you so quick to dismiss that?
Oh, because, there's sort of conspiracy theory out there that some of the nastier viruses that have been infecting human beings might have been the result of laboratory experiments or human engineering. Right. And we haven't really had the capability to engineer viruses for all that long, and we certainly know that some of these viruses have been around for a very, very, very long time. We actually see signs of viruses in some of the most ancient DNA that we can isolate from various organisms, because viruses are everywhere. Then, sort of any living system that might have occurred in the past that you can still extract DNA from, you'll find viral sequences and things like that. So I don't know. I just think I was strong to react to that because I don't want to support sort of conspiracy theories that aren't well evidenced.
Sure. So let's look at something, and let me play enemy advocate real quick. Let's look at a virus that has caused millions of deaths globally since, I guess you could say, the early 80s that we know of. Let's talk about the AIDS virus. Why wasn't this a killer prior to that time period, in your opinion?
Right, so that's a great question. So the HIV virus, the one that leads to the acquired immune deficiency syndrome, right, that we refer to as AIDS, that's the one that the greatest amount of speculation is around, because it didn't emerge, like you said, until probably it really started showing up on our radar screen in the 1980s. But we can go back, and we have been able to go back and sample blood samples from much earlier than the 1980s, as far back as the 1960s, as I recall. And we found HIV antibodies or signs of HIV in blood samples that were archived from back to the 1960s. So if we go and we look in Africa, where the HIV virus is thought to have emerged from, we actually find similar viruses in monkeys, the simian immunodeficiency virus, or SIV virus. So it's possible that this virus is one of those cases where the virus has changed on a molecular level as people have interacted with an infected species like the monkeys in Africa, and that the virus has made a jump from one species to another. So we're coming in contact with viruses all the time, and the vast majority of them don't infect us, and they don't cause disease. But it's possible that if we come in contact with a virus that has a certain type of molecular profile, it may be able to make a species jump from one species to another. So that's how swine flu and bird flu and things like that have entered the human population. So they're sort of rare events that happen as human beings come in contact with animals that have viruses that sometimes can make a molecular leap into humans. And then once it makes a leap into humans, it can be propagated in the human beings, and sometimes it can become more infectious in a population once it's entered a population.
This is such fascinating insight. And in case you're just joining us, we are with Dr. A.J. Roberts. She works for a fantastic organization out in the great state of California, reasons.org, Reasons to Believe. You can find them online there. Anjanette Roberts is a molecular biologist. She writes and speaks about harmonizing science and the Christian faith, and we're talking about that dirty word, virus. There's some common misconceptions about the cold virus, right? First of all, there's many different cold viruses, not just 1 or 10 or 100 even. Is there any truth to the notion that once you get a particular strain of a viral infection, that you can never get that viral infection again?
Great question. So there are a lot of viruses that if you get the viral infection, like chickenpox,
right,
you won't get chickenpox again, most likely, because your immune system develops something called antibodies that recognize the virus the next time you encounter it. And they're able to sort of attack the virus by binding to it, and that allows your immune system to clear the virus out of your body before the virus can set up an infection cycle and cause disease again. So it has to be a virus that's somewhat stable in its molecular construct, because the molecular construct is what produces the proteins on the outside of the virus, and that's what allows the virus to both attack your cells and for your immune system to target and clear. So if the virus is relatively stable, then you're infected with it once. We think that immunity for many viruses like that can be almost lifelong, certainly many decades. But as you get older, your immune system starts to go through something called senescence, where it starts to not function quite as well. Right. And so you can be infected with some viruses that sort of hang out in your body, and your immune system keeps them in check. But once your immune system starts to become weakened, then those viruses can reemerge. And so that's also what happens with the chickenpox virus, right? When you get stressed or your immune system isn't functioning properly, you can get a reoccurrence of the chickenpox infection, which results in shingles. Viruses are pretty crafty that way.
I'm glad that you're bringing up recurring themes here. And one of the things in society that we've been talking about and listening to is this debate about vaccinations. And, you know, we have a little one in the house now, so we've decided to vaccinate him for just obvious reasons. But we're seeing a reemergence of certain viral infections that seem to have been eradicated in first world countries. I know polio, believe it or not, is making a comeback. Where do you take this argument in terms of being a molecular biologist? Where do you stand on the debate, you know, vaccines, autism, and all that, and how it's bunched together nowadays in mainstream media?
I don't want to give just a 2-minute response to this, but I will give you a quick answer in just a minute. I have actually written a couple of blogs on this, so I refer people back to the website reasons.org, O-R-G, and if they can look for my blog there, it's called Theorems and Theology, and I've written on the vaccine safety issue and questions that came up after I wrote on the vaccine safety issue. But basically, vaccines are developed for diseases that can be very, very dangerous. Right. They may not be diseases that will kill us, but they can be diseases that can lead to things like deafness or blindness or neurological disorders in the long term. And so the actual disease caused by the viruses are much more dangerous than the risks associated with vaccination. Now, the same way that a room full of people exposed to measles virus, if they were unvaccinated, many of the people in that room would become infected because measles is highly contagious. Right. But of the vast majority of people that become infected, only few of them are going to have a really severe disease that might have lifelong complications. And maybe just a fraction of them will die. And so we have to keep in mind that many of the vaccines that we receive are a weakened virus. Right. And so there's going to be a range of responses to the vaccinations as well.
Let me put my tinfoil hat on here for just a minute, AJ, and say that is there any possibility or truth to the argument that people kind of shy away from vaccines, even something as simple as the flu shot, because at the end of the day, we really don't know what we're being injected with. There's some sort of train of thought that there could be something in there that is going to eventually hurt us, whether it's psychologically even. What say you on to that point?
So, again, you know, vaccines and the contents of vaccines are highly regulated. The FDA regulates vaccines on a continual basis, even after they reach licensure. And the biopharmaceutical companies that manufacture the vaccines, they're under constant review and scrutiny by FDA officers. And so I know that if there's anything that shows up in the human population as linked to a danger associated with a vaccine, production, manufacturing, and even the license can be revoked of things like that. And it has been in the past, historically, things like rotavirus, which causes diarrhea in infants. That's been removed from the market because The safety studies that led to vaccination of millions of people didn't catch a very rare but serious side effect. And so as soon as that emerged, the vaccine was pulled from the population. But some vaccines, like the MMR vaccine, which you mentioned earlier, have been associated with what's now considered a bogus report, that it was associated with autism. There have been multiple studies in multiple countries, in multiple people groups, that have basically seen no association whatsoever between autism and vaccination with the MMR vaccine or with any vaccine. But that's not to say that there aren't serious adverse side effects in some people, a very small fraction, who are immunized with vaccines. So it's sort of a risk-reward situation that you have to weigh. But we have to realize is there are many vaccine-controlled diseases that you've mentioned that are starting to reemerge, like measles and mumps and things we should be able to control by vaccination, that are re-entering the population because people are making uninformed decisions and choosing not to vaccinate their children. So the vast majority of vaccines for the vast majority of people are extremely safe. Now, that's not to say you might not have a mild reaction, a little bit of itching, a little bit of warmth, maybe a little bit of fever, but that's just signs that your immune system is working in response to the vaccine. That's actually your immune system building up that memory so that if you ever encounter the extremely more dangerous virus that you're being vaccinated against, then you're going to be protected. So those are good signs if they're mild signs.
So, Dr. AJ, when we first started chatting today, I posed the question, why would a good God inflict his creation with viruses that could hurt them? You have some resources available at reasons.org that address this question.
I do. Just this month, in fact, there's a DVD product on that title, Why Would a Good God Create Viruses? And it's me talking about that topic at our Apologetics Mission Partnership Conference, which happens in Southern California every February. But if you're interested in getting a copy of that DVD, you can make a contribution to Reasons to Believe, and that DVD will be sent to you this month.
This is just such amazing insight. I'm so thankful that you've taken the time today to be here in Wenz World. Folks, you can connect with the good Dr. AJ Roberts on Twitter at RTB_AJ Roberts. Of course, Reasons on Twitter as well at RTB_official. And Dr. Roberts, you got a few projects going on.
Yes, one of them is probably going to be a book related to what we've been talking about in part. This will probably be a couple of chapters in a book on why would a good God create viruses. I'm very excited about that project. I'm also extremely interested in writing about the complexity of the human genome, the complexity of things that regulate the human genome, known as epigenetics, the complexity of even a simple cell, and to realize the more we understand the human genome, the more we understand the functioning and diversity of cellular functions, the more we realize it's far more complex than we ever imagined. And I think that that's another sign that points to an infinitely intelligent Creator that designed us in a way that we can adapt to things like viral infections or other environmental challenges. And as human beings, we continue to thrive and flourish because God has fearfully and wonderfully made us with a capacity not just to live, but to thrive.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to the line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
Hey, Hey, KLRN radio family. This is Jenny Earhart. Connect with me personally. Email me at radio@southernsistershome.com.
Hi, this is Vinny Bucci, a.k.a. The Booch of the male soap opera moment. Make sure you check out the Boochcast Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. on Blog Talk Radio. Also, like the show on Facebook, where you can find archived episodes. I'm in Wenz World, and I love it.
I love me some good old-fashioned wrestling.
The Rock actually cares about this ongoing soap opera.
This is your male soap opera moment.
Bucci, look out! There's helicopter parts flying all over the place here in Wenz World. We're going to try and maintain some sort of stability, but it's getting cray. It's getting crazy here with the one, the only, Vincent J. Bucci.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It is crazy. It is insane. I am lucky to be alive.
Indeed.
Not just from the fireworks, just from how crazy the heat has been. I felt like I was going to pass out a few days back. Like, literally, like, the heat exhaustion got to me. Like, I was actually I'm out grabbing carts. Next thing I know, the heat hit me so hard, I thought I was going to pass out.
It could be stressful. It's almost as if you're in a helicopter that's falling from 1,400 feet in the sky.
And about to land in the water.
About to land in the water safely, I might add. And this analogy has been brought to you by Shane O'Mac. Here comes the money. Thank goodness Shane has survived. For real, folks, off the shores of New York, Shane McMahon was in a helicopter that somehow landed safely in the waters just outside of New York State. The name of the beach, what was that again?
I believe it was Gilgo Beach.
Gilgo Beach. Thank God, because the commissioner of SmackDown has been such a staple. We can't handle another talented person dying in a helicopter crash.
Absolutely. And also, you guys have to keep in mind, this is a guy who's jumped off Hell in a Cells, Titantrons, literally killed off going through announce tables. I bet he's probably the calmest person in a plane crash you will ever be around. Like, this is nothing.
Absolutely. And we have some audio that was taken from local reporters here. The media excellence, if you will. Mm-hmm. Without further ado, New York media.
Well, it's very unsettling, when all of a sudden you have something happen, you hear a bang, and then you start saying we're going to do an emergency landing in the water. So, yes, it was very unnerving. But again, Mario was super calm, which made me super calm, and we landed perfectly.
It's called an auto rotation, and it went, as good as it could go.
How far did you drop?
We were cruising at 1,400 feet when it happened.
We're just coming in for an emergency landing, and I was like, okay. And he says, here in the water. I said, all right. He deployed the pontoons, and everything happened so quickly. You don't have much time to react, but the pilot Mario was fantastic. I mean, when he landed, it was like landing on the ground. He did an amazing job.
Are you Vince McMahon's son?
I am.
Oh, okay. They just asked me to ask that.
Look, I know that I'm really hot, and that's why I got this job as a reporter for the local news affiliate. Are you Vince McMahon's son, or are you Ed McMahon's son? Are you late for your Star Search audition? Or...
Yeah. Are you going to judge that guy, Martin Lawrence? I hear he's going to be a star one day.
Martin!
I am. Just what the hell was that?
You wonder why people talk about fake news.
Exactly.
How the hell does this woman have a job? Now, obviously, the first two voices of the audio were that of Shane McMahon and his pilot Mario, the two well-spoken individuals in that clip. But are you... somebody asked me to ask you that. Like, how do you not know who this person is? And I get not everybody watches wrestling, but even if you don't watch wrestling, you know who Shane is, you know who Stephanie is, you know who Vince is, you know who people like Triple H and The Rock and Stone Cold are. Have some pop culture knowledge, as it were.
Exactly. There's no excuse to not know those names. Even if you've never watched wrestling a day in your life, they are names that have popped out at you.
Not to mention,
some point.
Aren't you standing there while other people are asking questions or while he's talking? Pull out your smartphone and Google search Shane McMahon and look at his picture. That's the guy who's standing right in front of you.
Yeah. The best quote in the world came from Denzel Washington. The media doesn't care about being right. They just care about being first.
Right.
That's all they care about. They just want to be the first ones to get the scoop. But here's the problem. It's hard to get credibility for being the first one to get the scoop when you sound like a moron.
They wanted me to ask you that if you were. Wait, are you Vince McMahon's son, Ed McMahon, or maybe Jim McMahon, the old quarterback for the Chicago Bears? Were you in that music video they made back in '84?
Yeah, your name is Shane. Are you the guy that the kid yells at on the horse when he tells him to come back, Shane? Was that based on you? I'll bet that's what they're thinking.
You know, it just makes you wonder. Even if you're not a Trump person, stuff like this makes you gives credence to that term fake news. And these moron reporters that somehow got a job. She must be hot as hell. Literally.
Literally, yeah, she has to be. Like, there's no I can't think of another reason why she doesn't have a job, because clearly journalism was not this woman's major.
Nothing going on upstairs.
Absolutely.
But so that's the lead here on the male soap opera moment. Usually, folks, we start with predictions. This weekend we have Battleground coming up, but we're going to have to wait for the on-demand version. Of course, you can catch that anytime you want. SoundCloud.com, up in the search bar, Wenz World. But with the time remaining, we have about a minute left before the end of the show. There has been a breakthrough in the WWE. As all of us know, the first female referee has yet to make an appearance. But wait! She just did. As of late, the Mae Young Classic, the first full-time hired female referee. And the implications on this story, Booch, are endless. And I can't wait to get into this. But before we end the show, let's give people a little sneak peek about what they'll hear on the Boochcast when they tune in.
Yeah, because this is just really, really epic to see this female referee. And I'm really, really intrigued to see where it goes and how she's going to get the job and everything else. And you know, it's amazing because apparently Jim Ross is the only guy in the Mae Young Classic. Because you got Lita being his co-host in the commentary.
Right.
You've got the wrestling. You got the female wrestlers in the ring. A female referee. Whether she comes to the main roster or not remains to be seen. I think they'll probably try her out in NXT because, you know, even though she's a woman, she's also new to refereeing. So you got to make sure she knows what she's doing before you put her on the main roster.
And we're going to get further into this again on demand, SoundCloud.com. Also a free app in your phone's app store, up in the search bar, WENZ World. Till next week, have a nice day.
Bang, bang.
Hey, KLRN radio family, this is Jenny Earhart, the Southern Sisters radio show, every Sunday at 2 p.m. right here on KLRN. Connect with me on Facebook at Southern Sisters Home with Jenny Earhart. You can also catch our Facebook Live videos, unedited and uncensored. I'm in Wenz World, and I love it.
What's going on, KLRN radio family? So we got a few minutes left of the show, and I really want to do something different this time. I don't want to repeat previous interview, conversation or something and try and get it by you. So I'm going to free flow a little bit. Unscripted, uncensored. I'm going to make mistakes, but there aren't going to be any edits. And I want to do so to a song, a beautiful song in my mind, from a local group here in Atlanta, Georgia. Their name is Outkast, or a hip-hop group, and they're not new to the scene. They've been around for a very, very long time. This is a song called Liberation. It's a track off their album Espionage. I think it came out back in the late 90s. I want to say 98 or 99, leaning towards the former. But this album is full of so many awesome tracks. And I'm not a big rap guy. I used to be in high school before I could really appreciate the eclectic nature of music. But this song, Liberation, is off said album Espionage. Espionage obviously being the merge of an Aquarius and a Gemini. Two members of this group, as I mentioned, Big Boy, Antoine Patton is his real name. He's the Aquarius of the group. And Andre Benjamin, also known as Andre 3000, is the Gemini of the group. And the way that they compose together is just nothing short of miraculous. The way these two blended when they were releasing albums, it's nothing short of magic. It's a magical miracle. There's some alliteration for you, unintended alliteration. Liberation to me means being free of expectations from others, being free from oppression. And I found in my own life that much of the oppression that I face is self-inflicted. It's my own expectations that I hold of myself that quite often are unattainable. And it's easy to beat them when you really think about it, when you really just separate yourself from those expectations that we put on ourselves every day. It's tough, man. You know, all of us on some level want to attain a Buddhist-like perfection, a nirvana, a state of excellence where we're free of pain, free of affliction. But on this side of eternity, I really do believe that it's unattainable. I believe that suffering is a necessary part of our journey. It's a necessary evil, if you will. And it really shapes us as people. And of course, along with the suffering comes the growth. It becomes the merge of our duality. You know, all of us want easy street. None of us want to go through hard times. You know, but even in the simplest areas of suffering in our lives, I do believe that we can get closer to the goal that was set before us by our Creator. Some people call him God. Other people call her God. Some people call it the universe, the essence, the libido, the life force, as Dr. Evil would say. The Force, if you're a Star Wars guy or gal. But I definitely think there's a little bit of truth in all religions. I'm having a hard time with Islam right now. I really struggle with the notion of it and how it correlates to American society, our Bill of Rights, our Constitution, and even in modern day times where we here in the West view women as equals, as people with rights, the right to live, the right to vote, the right to not have to wear a burqa, a headscarf. Sorry, that's my email going off. See if it's anybody important. No, I'm going to close it. Further proof that this is unedited and unscripted. What was I talking about? Well, I'm figuring that out. Just listen to this real quick. I can't remember, so we're just going to move on to something else. Whatever comes first. Man, I am so excited about football season coming up, y'all. Like, this is where Erykah Badu chimes in. If you don't know who she has one of the most unique voices. It's almost mini Ripperton unique. That's me doing my little clicky noise in my roof of my mouth and my tongue. But football season, man. NFL coming back. I'm so excited. I can't wait till September. I think it's September 10th is that first NFL Week 1 Sunday. Oh, dude, I can't wait. I know we're like just a month out from it and preseason starts, but I don't get excited about preseason because it's all fakey. It's just, you know, it's like nobody really plays hard because they don't want to get hurt. And I don't blame them because the money is when the season starts. Speaking of football, you guys have HBO, which only a few people do, and I pirated somebody's account, so I don't pay for that shit. But the show called Ballers, it's amazing. It's such a good, fun show to watch, and it kind of bends your eyes and your ears to the lifestyle of professional athletes. And I know a lot of us kind of discount their life as some, you know, pipe dream. Just watch it for yourself. It's amazing. Anyway, I think we're coming up against the end of the show, but I want to say thank you for everybody that took the time to listen today, especially if you're still with us here. If you want to, here it goes. Reach out on Twitter at Wenz World Radio. Follow me, I'll follow you back. Until next week, y'all take care. And I'm just going to jam out for these last few seconds.
Hey, KLRN radio family. This is Jenny Earhart, the Southern Sisters radio show, every Sunday at 2 p.m. right here on KLRN. Connect with me on Facebook at Southern Sisters Home with Jenny Earhart. You can also catch our Facebook Live videos, unedited and uncensored. I'm in Wenz World, and I love it.
Thank you, Jenny. Wenz World loves you, too. Folks, head to SouthernSistersHome.com. Get to know Jenny more and find fantastic recipes. So easy to make, even I can do it.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, Internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Excellent!